Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. First of all, I'd like to do a shout out to my colleagues and say happy International Nurses Day, and thank you to you all that have been working during this time or doing whatever you can to help the world in such a difficult time. Thank you for all your courage, your hard work, your bravery, your commitment and your skills all combined together to make sure that essential services are running and keeping things moving as promptly as possible. Today's video is going to be on my first semester at university. So in my first semester, we started two modules. The first one named PVAS, and that was a professional values and skills module, which went into the NMC code and why we would need to know it, what it involves and why we need to use this when developing and providing our patient care. Why is it important? And during this module, the assessment method was a reflection essay, and in order to do the reflection essay, we did it alongside reflection cycles such as Kolb and Gibbs. We had to think of a time or a situation where it made us reflect and why it made us reflect, and use them processes of the cycle in order to form an essay. This was very difficult. I found it very difficult because you kind of had to do an essay talking about something that you had experienced, and I'd never done a reflective essay before. Normally only ever done essays where it's an essay question, then you go and find information based on that question. When you're actually having to write an essay about your own experiences, it's not as easy as it sounds. But I started to learn, and as I said, knowing and going through this career, I knew there would be a lot of reflection in the future, and in order to be able to do that effectively in the future, I'd need to come to grips with this module on what it was showing me and what kind of skills it was teaching me in order to use them skills in the future. So that was the first module. We did another module which was a anatomy and physiology module, and alongside that was an OSCE. In the anatomy I don't know why I'm getting tongue twisted here. The anatomy and physiology module focused on our body system. So we focused on the cardiovascular system, we focused on the skin, we focused on the endocrine system, we also focused on the respiratory system, and a bit of the neuro system and homeostasis, etc. We revised all of these topics, and what was the assessment method for this is one of the topics and one of the systems that we had studied, we would do an exam on one system. We didn't know which system we would get, so we revised all, and on the day of your exam is when you got the paper based on one of those systems. So you had to know everything, and obviously we started to learn the physiology behind the body systems and medical conditions. OSCE, that was a practical examination, and in that we had to take a manual blood pressure following a set routine of what had to be done, adhering to infection control, and also getting an accurate reading. There was a leeway with that, but it was to take the manual blood pressure and complete that as an assessment. That was joined with the physiology module, so you got grades for both, and then they combine them together to give you your overall grade. With the OSCE, I'd say it was difficult because you kind of have to put yourself in an exam scenario for something that you would naturally do. So when you're working on the wards and you're on placement, it becomes natural with you taking blood pressures and taking vital signs and stuff as you go along, because it's incorporated into your duties as a nurse and what you're doing. But when you're actually sitting there and like, you know that the person that you're doing it on isn't actually on while it's for an exam, and to make sure you're competent doing it, it's completely different, and you feel like you're kind of acting, and then you start doubting yourself when it's something that you would naturally do day in, day out on placement. So that was tricky, but managed to get through it, and it was just remembering all the infection control before and after. So wiping down your equipment, making sure that you bin it, you don't leave it, taking the tympanic probes and putting it in the ear correctly, also putting the cuff on correctly, getting accurate reading, checking out what to listen for, so that the pulse sounds and whatnot, and also taking manual pulses, and basically all the basic skills of carrying out observations. So that was interesting, and that was good, because once you've done that, we felt, you know, really confident before going out onto our first placement, and it really helped develop those kind of skills. So also, what else did we do? Then going back to PVAS, sorry, we submitted that assignment, and alongside PVAS was the maths exam. And the maths exam, we had to do some basic drug calculations. We weren't allowed to use the calculator. It was 10 questions, and the pass mark. The pass mark for this question, sorry, I don't know why I can't talk today, but we're just going to go with it. It was 7 out of 10, and I know in year 2 it is 8 out of 10 to pass, and then in your 3rd year it is 10 out of 10 to pass. But in the 2nd and 3rd year you are allowed a calculator on like basic drug calculations and the type of things that they'll ask. After all of this, we then got our placement allocations, and I got my first allocation, which was at a hospital close to where I am. That was on FAU, which was a frailty assessment unit, medical ward. So as the weeks went by, we got our uniforms and we was ready to start placement. This placement on FAU would be a 2-month placement, so 8 weeks. And I was given the details for the ward manager. I called up in advance and got my first shifts. My first shifts were 3 long days for that week, and I then found out who my mentor was. So I turned up on my first day and was introduced to my mentor, lovely lady, and very knowledgeable, and was able to teach me so much skills throughout this time. FAU was basically the same as a medical assessment unit or an acute medical unit, AMU, but it catered for the elderly population. And basically on this FAU there was criteria for admission, so we usually got patients that could be discharged within a couple of days. If not, we would find them a base ward, but they also had to be over the age of, it was 65 or 75, I can't remember as this was over a year ago. But yeah, 65 or 75. So that was the population we served for. We did serve. It was a 16-bedded unit, and during the day we would normally have on, say, 2 nurses plus the ward manager, 3 nurses and 3 healthcare assistants. There was also physios. We had the physios, the OTs, we had a doctor that was based on the unit as well, so we had our own doctor, and then we also had a consultant that would do the morning round. This was a very good placement to learn because it was very fast paced, and we had so many different variety of patients that come in. We had a lot of acute medical patients, we had dementia patients, we had patients with learning difficulties, we had mental health patients that had come in. And obviously as you go on the course you have a lot of exposures that you need to do. During this course we have a thing called Spectrum of Essentials or something like that, where basically we have to have exposure to other fields but our own. So I'm training to be an adult nurse, but I also need to have exposure in peds nursing, LD and mental health. This can be just a patient that you've looked after with any of these things, or it can be you directly speaking to one of them care providers and asking if you can do like a mini pathway or something with them that can be a few days or a few weeks. The thing that I liked about this placement was the team was really good. Everyone pulled together, everyone did their bit. I was welcomed as a student nurse, and I was taught a lot. One thing that I was really thankful for is that obviously being out of it and jumping back into this kind of placement, I was really worried at the fact that I felt rusty and I didn't really know much. But this placement, I can say, restored my confidence, and it restored my confidence because the staff, I couldn't thank them enough for actually, you know, making me believe again that I can actually do this, and it was a right decision to get back into it, and I'll be forever thankful of them. I had an amazing 8 weeks on there. I developed so much knowledge, and I couldn't have asked for a better first return to nursing placement. It was really good, and I would recommend anybody that that gets a say in placements that they can do, or putting down, or don't know what to put for, say, an elective placement. I would put down somewhere like that, because you'll get variety, it's a good team, and also you'll get support and you will learn loads, and learning is priceless. That was it really for my first semester. My next video is going to focus on the second semester, so thank you again for all that have tuned in. If you're new today and enjoyed the video, give a thumbs up. Please don't forget to comment, like and subscribe, and I hope you're all well, fit, healthy. Staying alert is the new one, and continue to do good things and heal during this time. Thank you and goodbye.